Okay, I ended up doing this as a video because I think it'll go faster and I think it'll be easier to explain. Basically, the issue is in 3D Studio Max, how do you re-import a mesh that you already have? So that from SketchUp is specifically what I'm doing. So this is SketchUp, and this is a simple object that I've got, and it's got 3 materials. It's just a single object, so there's nothing fancy about it. If I open my material editor in SketchUp, I've got green, red, and yellow, and they're assigned to this object. So if you've got SketchUp Pro, you can export this as a 3ds file and then import it into Max, or if you've got Max 2010 with the connection extension plugin, or Max 2011 straight up out of the box, you can import SketchUp files. So I'll show you doing that both ways. So let's say I exported this as a 3ds file, and you go into Max and go File, and you can import it. Max is giving me, there we go, import, and you can import as really you can import it as a SketchUp file or your 3ds. Either way, you're going to get the same result. The only difference is that the 3ds file will import as standard materials. So let me go ahead and show you that. Don't convert units. No, we don't want to change the animation length. Okay, so now we've got it in Max. If we open our material editor and select the object that you've got, basically it comes in with a multi-sub-object material, and we've got red, green, and yellow, and they're standard. Now if you want to change them, that's fine. We can go ahead and do that. The easiest way to do that is to come in here, select standard, and then change your material from standard. And currently right now in Max 2011, if you're using the Slate material editor, you cannot convert an existing material. You have to do it in the compact material editor, which is the reason why I still use it. So here we're going to switch to a Arc and Design, which is what I like. If I want to keep this color, a nice little trick is I can copy that color and then switch it. So I can go Arc and Design and then paste my color. So there's my red. So, and I'll repeat that for the green and the yellow. So in the end, we're going to have Arc and Design for all of them. So that's with the 3ds file. Now let me reset our scene, and I'm going to do the same import, but instead I'm going to do the import with the SketchUp file instead of the and here's asking for a place to save your textures to. Doesn't really matter because I don't have materials, but I'll go ahead and import it, and there it is. And now you'll see, if we look at our material editor, there we are, red, green, and yellow, which is a really nice thing about Max 2011 with this SketchUp plugin. It'll import it straight to Arc and Design. So let's say I go ahead and modified some of my materials. So I'm going to add a UV modifier to my mesh here, box, and it's like I'm not going to do real world. So let's say I went in here and started adding some complex things. Like let's just say I went in and tweaked my materials. So here we're going to add a checker. Let's make that darker right there. So we'll give it kind of a checkered pattern. So I'll turn that off. Let's say 4 by 4. Okay, so we've got that. So let's say I went ahead and did that to all my materials. So this is just an example. As if I went in and created my, like say I had brick and I edited my material in Max. I'm going to paste copy there and change the color for my green. So I'm pasting the green in there, and then we're going to make that a little darker so you can turn that on so you can see it. And then we're going to go back up and do the yellow. So let's say we're going to paste copy and copy my yellow, and we're going to paste my yellow in there, make that darker. There we go. So now we've got, let's say these are my quote unquote edited materials. So here are my edited materials. Let's say I want to working in an architecture firm, a lot of times we redesign a concept. So let's say we went in here and instead we introduced a new option or new building option. So I'm just going to call it blue, and there. So we've got that. So now let's say I export this as a 3ds or import it as a just straight max from SketchUp file. The real question is, how do you replace your mesh and still keep your edited materials? The easiest way to do that is to make sure that all the materials that you've got in your scene are here in your kind of in your temporary palette right here. Basically, because if it's not in your scene right here, or if it's not in your palette, it's still in your scene. You can still get to it. It's still in your scene materials, and this will show you all your materials that you've got in your scene right here. And so what I do is I make sure I've got all my materials, and I use this right here, and you can cycle through this to maximize it and just put all of them in here temporarily. And so what I'm going to do is just use the eyedropper to select my material. So there's my material, and then what I actually do is I delete my old mesh, and you'll notice it still keeps the material in there. But have you noticed if I go back, these little triangles in the corner mean it's a material that's being used in my scene. If I delete my mesh, those triangles are gone, and I no longer have that mesh in my scene. So now, if I go, if I'm going to import, I've still got this right here in my scene. So now I'm going to import that new one. So I'm going to say import, and this is the edited one. So now I've got this, and if I use my eyedropper to select that, be sure you don't have this highlighted, because if you select this and highlight it, it'll go away. So you want to keep it. So we've got our eyedropper on our mesh, and you'll notice that it's a little quirky because our IDs get mixed up. So here we've got green is number 2, and number 2 here is blue. So you can't just do a straight drag. I mean, we've introduced a new material. So the question is, how do you fix that? Well, there are a couple of ways you can do that for instances. If we want to keep this as an instance for our mesh in our scene, the easiest way to do that is to keep this. What you could do is you could take your red right here and pull it out as an instance, and notice it's a red that's not being used in my scene. Let's blow this up a little bigger so we can see what's going on. There we go. So there's red that's not being used. Now what I could do is just take this red and drag it in here. The only problem with that is, let's say I have another multi-sub object material that incorporates the same instance of this red. Then if I drag this in here, it's only going to affect the this multi-sub object, and then the instance of this red somewhere else is not going to get used. So it's the way to overcome that is to go in here, and then the easiest way is to right click on here, say copy, and what it's going to do is copy all of the criteria in this red shader, and it's going to paste it in every instance of this red. So it's keeping my old red. So that's the easiest way to do that. And then you can do that for the green. You can do that for the yellow. And then of course for any new material we'll have to recreate that. So now let's go ahead and turn these on so you can see that. Oh, you also have to apply the same UV modifiers. There, so we've got the same UV modifiers. So now, of course, your blue, you're going to have to edit that. But if we were to do it the other way around, you'd notice it wouldn't really work if we had two objects that had that same material. And let me show you how that works. Let's say we've got this object here, and I'm just going to copy this over right here and say, let's make that yellow. Okay, so now we've got 2 and 2. Okay. The way this plugin works is we need to group these. So this will be a group, and this will be a group. Okay. So now let's save that and do our import. Okay, so now they're 2 separate meshes. So let's go ahead and select. I'm just going to write over this one. There's this mesh, and there's this mesh. Now you'll notice the reason that wouldn't have worked if we were to just click and drag our red is it'll only apply it to this object right here, not this one. So let's say you can say copy and paste instance. Let's apply our UV modifiers. You can already see it's only applied to this one, even though that originally was an instance. Once I pasted this red into this red, all of a sudden this red and this red have become separate objects. And you can see right here, it's not an instance. Now if I go back and undo, let's go back and undo. Okay, you can see that here it wants to make it unique because these two reds are the same red. So that's the reason we go through and let's apply our UV modifier just to show you how that's going to work. Okay, copy, and I'm actually going to just paste the instance, that same modifier, because it's the same size. So now what I'm going to do is go in here and copy what I've got here, and this red and this red, these two reds are the same. So when I'm going in here and pasting instance, it's going to paste all the criteria from this red into this shader. So paste instance, and voila, they both changed. So that is how I re-import objects and reassign the materials to them without having to go through every single object. Thanks for watching.